Hello, listeners, and welcome to another episode of Quote Unquote with KK. As you know, ChatGPT has taken the world by storm after it was launched last year on 30th of November. Sal Altman, the founder of OpenAI, who was the developer himself, warned the US Senate committee that if gone unregulated, how it would fall in wrong hands and create havoc for the world, and that all the countries of the world should regulate AI for its development and use. Later this year, in June, when he visited India at an event in Delhi, Sam Altman was asked whether three Indian engineers with $10 million could build something similar to OpenAI. In response, Sam said it was hopeless for a young team from India with limited resources to build a foundational artificial intelligence model similar to OpenAI. We will come to know his hopelessness on India later in our podcast. Let me roll back in time just for Sam Altman and our listeners' benefit. From 2003 onwards, my team at Wipro was doing for United Healthcare, we were automating claims processing right out of India. We use various automation tools for voice dictation, fraud detection, etc. We called it BPO and not AI. And for United Health pinout in Genix, now called Optum Health, I strategized with the founder, Andrew Slavitt, on what sort of data models and predictive capabilities we can build on the petabytes of health claims data from 1970 onwards that was sitting on their mainframe computers, unused. At that point in time, we called it ETL and data processing strategy and not AI. Later in 2007, when I was heading Jubilant Life Sciences, I had over 500 scientists and bioinformatics specialists working on drug discovery models using whatever we call now as NLP for various multinational life sciences companies such as Eli Lilly, Pfizer, etc. right here in India, and called it drug outsourcing and life sciences KPO. When I went entrepreneurial in 2012, I launched an algo-based quant hedge fund, which was the top performing hedge fund along with Nissim Taleb when we predicted the Chinese crisis and the market crash in 2015 after 3 years of building the algo and backtesting. We called it algo-based quant fund and algo-based quant trading. Later, I sold and exited the fund. So even before ChatGPT came into prominence, one of my startups developed a COVID bot used on WhatsApp after a lot of global policy changes with WhatsApp legal officer out of San Francisco and rolled it out on our 104 health line across 4 states. And this was world's first bot to triage COVID before Israel launched its own version on WhatsApp. This startup was Stanford University's world's top 50 startup to give impact during COVID lockdown. So it begs me to understand that Sam Altman's statement is very anti-Indian as far as AI is concerned. Just a few weeks back, we had Elon Musk, the founder of X, Twitter X, SpaceX, Tesla X, OpenAI, adding another X to his list, and he announced XAI as the new artificial intelligence company that will aim to understand the true nature of the universe using AI. And obviously, he has poached a team from OpenAI, DeepMind, Microsoft, Tesla, and we'll also try to understand his profound statement and intent about the universe and what he intends to do with the universe as well. To discuss all these issues, I have invited, and now I'm going to read verbatim from the authors of the book AI Rising, India's AI Growth Story. Gentlemen, let me invite Jayanth Kolla and Leslie DeMont. Let me further read on what ChatGPT tells them and about the book. This is a book that explores the current and future state of AI in India and the world. It covers topics such as history, evolution, application, challenges, opportunities of AI across various domains such as healthcare, education, agriculture, entertainment, finance, and more. It also provides insight and perspective on how AI can transform business, industry, and society at large. The book aims to demystify the concept of AI and help readers from their own opinions about it. I have several more opinions, and I'm also going to put the link to the book as well on our podcast. Let me read what ChatGPT tells about Leslie, more than what I know about Leslie. Leslie De Monte is a journalist, author, speaker, and columnist who specializes in technology and science writing. He is currently the national technology editor at Mint, a business publication of HT Media. He is also Mass Institute of Technology, MIT, Knight Science Journalism Fellow, and a TEDx speaker. He is one of the co-authors of the book AI Rising, India's Artificial Intelligence Growth Story with Jayanth. He has worked with leading media groups such as the Times of India, Business Standard, Hindustan Times, and Network 18. Leslie has a Masters of Art degree in English Literature from the University of Mumbai, and he is also a MIT Knight Science Journalism Fellow. He has also attended various short-term courses and workshops on topics such as data journalism, digital media, science communication, education, and more. Let me come to Jayanth, what ChatGPT says. Jayanth Kolla is a co-founder and partner at Convergence Catalyst, a tech consultancy firm based out of Bangalore, India. He is also an author, speaker, columnist, and advisor on topics such as AI, 5G, data economy, and digital transformation. He has over 20 years experience in telecom, media, and technology. According to information on ChatGPT, Jayanth has a Master's of Business Administration degree from Symbiosis Institute of Business Management in Pune. He also has a Bachelor of Engineering degree in Electronics and Communication from Jawaharlal Nehru Technological University in Hyderabad. He is also an advisor to the MIT Knight Science Journalism program. Now, gentlemen, let me get you to do your self-fact check on ChatGPT and your introduction to the book, and let's deep dive into your book and the issues and context on where does India stand on artificial intelligence. So welcome to Quote Unquote with KK, Jayanth and Leslie.
Thank you. Leslie, you'd like to go first or you want me to?
I
Call out the hallucinations. Call out the hallucinations in our own profiles.
I honestly don't know what to say. Yeah,
Right?
It is true that I'm an MIT Knight Science Journalism Fellow 2010-11, and it is true that I worked with Mint, with Business Standard, but never with Network 80. I have no clue where that thing came up from, and I definitely I didn't understand what workshops and stuff that anybody under the sun would have done any workshop in the sun. But I'm giving ChatGPT the benefit of doubt, because if you look at the cutoff date, it's September 2021. But even then, it is pretty inaccurate. For that matter of fact, that it says that it mentions some fact out there, which I was wondering from where did it get it, because there's no such thing in my resume that even remotely matches with it. But I guess it's fun to watch ChatGPT do a job. I think whatever it sort of scraped from the internet, it managed to get all that stuff here. Yes, I think it was referring to my national technology editor. Now that was something that it was almost a decade-old designation of mine. After that, I moved league beyond that. So pretty interesting to watch it. It's like a kid trying to struggle with somebody's stuff, which is exactly what I treat a ChatGPT as. A kid not to be taken too seriously, but at the same time, when it gets connected to the internet and when it starts scraping, then when it starts playing havoc. So if you give a child a grown-up person's toy, they'll manage to play around with it for some while, but after some time, believe me, they'll manage to crack it and play havoc with it. So a tool in the wrong hand but it's fun.
Leslie,
Jayanth, how about you?
No, first, same. When it was saying Leslie is a national technology editor, and because I know Leslie more than 12 years and so much close, I knew that, okay, ChatGPT's training cutoff date is September 21, and that's the latest information that it has on Leslie, because Leslie is not NTE anymore beyond that at some time. But for me, the first part, what ChatGPT does, it did a great part of scraping the internet and putting together my profile, but it got all my education qualifications wrong. First of all, I did not have an MBA. Okay, and I'm extremely proud of that fact that 15 years into the field of search and consulting and 12 years of running my own consult firm. Okay, and I don't have an MBA. My co-founder doesn't, and most of don't. And we actually do strategy consulting, based on our industry experience, and we've been helping clients, the biggest of the biggest. You can think of any $1 trillion tech company in the world. Global tech companies are client to the smallest startup, extremely innovative startup, and we've been actually helped, right? So I'm an advisor and a guest lecturer at Symbiosis, and I'm not a MBA from Symbiosis. And my Bachelor of Engineering is from BMS College, Bangalore, and not JNTU, Hyderabad. And I attribute a lot of my growth, persona, character for my BMS education. And it has got nothing to do with the in-class, education, but everything to do with Bangalore and college. Extremely proud of it. And no, I'm not an advisor to MIT Science Fellow, or Knight Fellow School of Journalism.
No, unless you're advising me.
Yeah. Which we both do. So, but here's the thing, right? ChatGPT, it starts off so extremely well, and towards the end, it feels sane, and not just towards end, even within certain elements. For example, in your case, right, 3 out of the 4 previous employers it got right? So it's extremely difficult to call out the hallucination or the wrong part, because that's how very well integrated it is. Even for you to call out that network.
Basically, it's known as Goebbels' lie in history. So where you take a lot of truth truth, and then you put in one
Put in
untruth
one
over
lie.
there. So
Exactly.
people start believing it because, 75% of what you said is true. People sort of, reach a level where they say, okay, fine, even this is acceptable. Yeah. What if he has said 75% true? They will not do fact checking on the 25%. Like, for instance, I never did my English literature. There was no need for English because I'm a science guy and economics. Really nothing to do with English literature. So I was wondering, where did that come from? So
Correct.
yeah, but for the external person, they'll put like, okay, journalist, English literature. Oh, it matches. So it's a lot of conjecture, which is
Yeah.
exactly what ChatGPT and all LLMs do, because that is exactly they're very good at conjunctures and very good at connecting the dots. But that doesn't necessarily make it true. So
Make it exactly.
Gentlemen, you will be surprised that what ChatGPT throws. I'm an accomplice of Neerav Modi, CFO of his firm. ED and CBI are behind me. I was put behind bars.
wow.
And then I had to change my name to Kapil Khandelwal KK.
Wow. Oh, because KK.
Yeah.
That was after whatever happened to Neerav Modi.
Good. In that way, we got away.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. That way we got away easy.
I think this is a revised version of Chat, because earlier I remember checking my own resume on ChatGPT. It showed me as a Stanford guy. It didn't even mention the MIT at that point in
MIT.
time. So I said,
MIT.
when did I go to Stanford? So it was interesting, but yeah.
Hey, let's hit it off now. Let's talk a little bit about your book. A lot of nuggets of wisdom, and I advise our listeners also to order one and read it. I want to go back to, when did you decide to write the book, AI Rising, and what was the inspiration to write the book?
That's some story.
Honestly, that's
So,
yours. That's all yours.
yeah.
No,
Yeah, so
ChatGPT
actually,
is able to tell about all this. So this is
oh,
additional to what ChatGPT is telling about you guys and the book.
oh,
Yeah.
well,
So Kapil, here's your choice. You have the guys who've done it. So you want to rely on ChatGPT and get the guys to fact check it, or you want
No.
the guys to
I
talk
don't
about it.
want now. So
Yeah.
I've debunked the capability of ChatGPT is.
Fair enough.
So let's
Thank
go
you.
back into our podcast and talk face to face. And that is the whole, idea of this podcast here. And let
so
Sam Altman then, what India can't do and, what $10 million can't do and where it can't run on developing products or strategies.
So I
10
think
million mein
about
to yaar mera fund would have been a good $150 million, algo fund.
So I think about 3 years back, when Jaico Publications approached me to do a book, they wanted it actually initially on cybersecurity. Now, for me, cybersecurity at that point in time was too small a subject to deal with, because I also felt that, cybersecurity itself was being shaped by a lot of machine learning and AI. So I sort of planted the seed in them, and I told them, I said, why don't we do a book on artificial intelligence? So they asked me whether it will be too technical. I said, no, we will, because see, Jaico, all said and done, is a book for the masses. So
Correct.
they told me that, the kind of audience that they have, they want something that will appeal to everybody, to students. I said, yeah, that's exactly what I had in mind at that point in time, to do it for, more as an informative book, so that if anybody picks it up, they'll have enough of understanding of technology, of business, and the applications, which is far more important. Because see, if you want to read a book just on technology, I would rather read Andrew Ng, I would do a course in Coursera, I would become a developer. That's not the purpose. I don't want to become a Jeff Dean or an Andrew Ng or a Jeffrey Hinton, for that matter of fact. But most people here just want to they might want to become a prompt engineer. They might want to use prompts more intelligent. They may just want to use AI and understand how, if they're already in the BFSI field, for instance, how is AI helping them? Or they want to understand if they're in the retail field or in oil and gas, or wherever they are, whichever sector they are, they may want to understand. And that's exactly the purpose of the book. Jaico loved the idea, he told me. And then for me, at that point in time, because of the bandwidth constraints also, I thought of a few sort of who could co-author this book with me. And with Jayanth, we used to talk a lot about AI. And at that point in time, there was no generative AI. But we used to talk very deeply about a lot of transformers, on AI, where the entire field is headed. And since I've been a tech writer for more than 3 decades. Jayanth himself has been for over 2 decades. He himself has been doing a lot of deep tech consultancy, etc. So there was that meeting of minds, and for us, like the last 12 to 15 years, we ourselves have been discussing these topics threadbare. I thought it was a very logical thing for my comfort level with Jayanth, his comfort level with me, me made a lot more sense. And then also, since we both talk to industrialists on a very regular basis, and his is more of a deep dive with industrialists, I thought that would be a lovely, meeting point where I get in the whole perspective of a policy of the 360-degree kind of stuff, a lot of interviews with the head honchos, and Jayanth would bring in the deep dives on getting down an actual implementation, since his is also an advisory and consultant. So there's that, the whole synergy was very, very apparent. And of course, it took us, there were so many pivots during the book. By the time,
sure.
By the time I still remember in 2021, Jayko asked me, okay, he's saying, how is the book progressing? I said, see, I can easily write a 2,000 word article in a day. So for me to write a 60,000 word, it's a kid's stuff. But the problem is you're dealing with a subject like artificial intelligence, and on a daily basis is changed. So I said, typically what happens, print publications have got this habit of at least a 4 to 6 months publication time, which everybody is well aware. Now, even if you are very current, you will still be quite obsolete by the time your book is released. So that was a big challenge for us when we were doing this book. So what we decided was to make it to, present it more in the form of a kind of a textbookish thing where people will understand, pick up any chapter. Like for instance, even if you're a developer, like there are some developers who said, if I'm a nerd, will the book benefit me? I said, see, if you're a nerd who's playing around with Python and with any other programming tool, Python or any other one for that matter of fact, and you feel that you understand enough of machine learning, then there are so many other topics for you to understand the application, because you may not know where it is being applied, and you will definitely not be up to speed as far as the ethics part is. So that's also a very, very important consideration. Today, if you're well aware that in today's time, we already embed the whole design aspect in when you're doing a machine learning project, because those things are extremely important today that you think very different. So this book has everything for everyone. That's the way we look at it, and hopefully the audience will also feel the same.
Jen, what do you think? Do you want to have this book into a sequel?
So, okay.
First edition, second edition, third edition in future, as things are evolving so fast, and Jeko also will have the reason to keep publishing and republishing.
So like how Leslie mentioned, the last 2.5 years writing this book has been a journey. Okay. And that's also because AI as a domain and as a technology and impact on our day-to-day lives has evolved, right? In fact, when Leslie approached me co-author this book, it was just a blink decision for me to say yes, because more than anything else, it was the comfort with Leslie. Okay. Both of us have been at conferences, host some of the best and the biggest and flagship technology conference in the country, and I am a speaker at some of them. And when we discuss how to run the conference or what talked about, our discussions like we keep finishing each other's sentence. Okay, so that's a kind of relationship and the synchronistic relationship we had. So that's why when he came and asked, I said it was great and I'm in. And two things, because this book also talks about AI and India, and both of them are extremely important, interesting topic for me and the topics that I'm passionate about. But to your question, will there be a sequel? For me, if I have to give an analogy of the experience and what it was about writing this book, honestly, in today's day and age, the way AI is evolving, capturing something of AI's evolution in something as static as a book, mind you, a book is a 80,000 word, static thing. It gets printed and it stays there for long, right? It's not a blog. You can't update it. It's not. It's like, taking a picture of a Formula One car while it's on the race circuit and, going around at 300 kilometers per second or 200 plus miles per hour, sorry. Okay. And taking a picture of it and using that picture to predict the end of the race, predict the standings, who's going to win, and praying that, you don't have rain during the race or the pit strategy don't get put up and all of that stuff. So by extension, you're actually putting your neck on the line. But it was a great challenge. And just because it was that kind of challenge, and I cannot see this doing with anyone else except for Leslie, because you actually need a lot of confidence, okay? And in tackling a subject just evolving so fast that way. And Leslie did a great job as well. There were some chapters by the time we finished, the domain and the technology had evolved further. So he had to go back and, fine-tune them, rewrite them. Okay? And he's done a great job that way, editing the book, being the leading author of. Will there be a sequel, 2, 3, purely basis how this one is evolving? There is a lot more to be said. Let me put it that way. There is a lot more said and captured. But will we be doing that anytime in a hurry? We're not sure. We haven't talked about it beyond.
Yeah, and Kapil, there's another, perspective. Let me add out there. See, there's a lot of currently what happens is you're well aware that you're in this field also.
Correct.
So whenever there's a new technology, there's a lot of hype around.
Correct.
Now, it's just 7-8 months now, November to August, that we have had ChatGPT. Already, many people are forgetting at this point in time that there are a lot of class action suits against OpenAI. Now, if these class action suit actually materialize, OpenAI was going to have a very big problem just tackling them at this. That could, set back the entire thing on generative AI for some time, because even enterprises require a lot more confidence before they adopt Gen AI tools, because Gen AI is not the normal NLP. It takes it a little beyond that. It generates new content, new images. In fact, anything that has a structure, as we say in the book also, anything that has a structure, it can, make information out of that, because it just does not seek patterns and make new predictions. This is generating entirely new content, entirely new images, entirely new video, entirely. It can even do drug discovery.
Correct.
So many other things. So that in itself is going to take a lot of time. I like to make that distinction which Jayanth likes very much, is AI 1.0 and AI 2.0. Now, I think that transition is going to take time. So even if we were to do a sequel, it's rather, it makes more sense to wait and watch, because there's enough material in this book itself, which, like for instance, we know that transformers are the base for all these LLM. Where have transformers gone? We have discussed transformers straightway even in the book. And that technology is actually the foundation for LLM. So really it doesn't change. And the foundational models, which very few people realize even today, are very different. So LLMs are a kind of a offset or a subset of, the foundational models. Foundational models are deeper and they will make a very significant difference, but they were already there, that they were in the work at that point.
Now that we have introduced the twin flames or the soul brothers behind this book, I want to come down to the meat of it. Because of whatever I've gone through my career, doing whatever, which we now loosely different foundational technologies in AI. How do you see, and our Prime Minister Modi actually making a statement that there is India in AI in the joint houses in the US? How do you see this AI and the opportunity in AI evolving before we go deeper into different sectors and risks and the mitigants, and how do we regulate that both from a services, from a product and other issues as our country moves forward?
I'll take a 360-degree view of this, basically, because I interact with ministers, quite often, because we call them for the interviews, and then of course there are lots of interviews that are happening throughout the time. So I won't say that I perfectly understand the mind of the government, but have a fair view of how they operate. Now, if you look at India, I think one thing that both Jayanth and I have said in the book also, where we are very clear about one thing, that if you're talking about AI, there are two kind of segments. One is the hardcore deep research that is done on, say, LLM for that fact, foundational models, or the AI part. Now, we all know that AI as a concept itself, machine learning and deep learning, all the advances have been done in the West. Whether they have been done by Indians or first generation Indians, or whether they have been done by Westerners, really doesn't matter. But most of it has come from Silicon Valley or from China, or from, most of those countries. That's because of the R&D budgets. That's because of the deep pockets that they have. India is extremely good on the application space. So I don't think the government is really wrong in saying that India is, as far as AI is concerned, that India is it has got a lot of mind space. Definitely. Because if I have an LLM, where do I implement it? I mean, India is the right place to do it. If I want to understand flood forecasting, if I want to understand how AI can help, AI for social good, AI for poverty, where do I go? I have to go to a country like India, which also has got the skill set, which has got the developers, and which has got that whole ecosystem around it. Yeah, AI, for us, it's, I think, a little difficult on the top level and the R&D level to do AI because of the lack of semiconductor. We have a tremendous, very, very robust design and ecosystem, the EDSM part of it. Amazing. But yes, on semiconductors, we all agree that we do not have the below 10 nanometer kind of semiconductor fab. We are trying to get the 40 nanometer ones, which will create chips more for, say, automotive, for smart TV, for those kind of things, but
Industrial
not for
applications.
Industrial applications, which is just fine. So definitely AI, if you look at the 2018 Niti Aayog policy, it's one of the most amazing it's one of the most amazing documents that I have seen. We now are getting into the Digital India Act. We already, slowly but surely, we got the digital protection bill, the data protection bill. So now that is already there. That is waiting for the presidential assent. That is going to make life pretty interesting from the point of view of, at least we got a privacy bill in place. We'll get the Digital India Act also. So yes, clearly there are quite a few things that India needs to do, but we are getting there slowly but surely, given our limitations. We are pretty good on the quantum space. And my sense is that quantum computers will accelerate the speed at which AI is moving. Once the fault tolerance and the stability of quantum computers is, addressed at some point in time, we will get there. So I feel personally, which we have said in the book also, that India is on good. It's a good place to be.
So
Jayanth, your take, is it going to be products or is going to be services?
So,
Where are we going to be
okay,
really excelling?
Let me answer that question by first filling in my points on what Leslie mentioned about India and AI. What we tackled in the book is also, to look at India as a innovator, as a back-end service provider for global AI development, right? I mean, our
Correct.
IT services, KPO and PO
Correct.
providing. You mentioned a lot of that in your lengthy introduction, right? That, and the third, as a market for AI technology solution products and services adopt. Okay, so we actually looked at all India as under these three characteristics, okay, or under three lens: as an innovator, as a back-end services enabler for AI development, and as a market, right? And we talked about that as well. But I want to emphasize on what Les said. Some of the social impact AI innovation that you can do only in India. I mean, like flood forecasting, population health registries in healthcare. Okay, even our UPI and India stack is one of its kind. Okay,
Correct.
now the kind of payment transaction data and the profiling that can build, and a whole lot of products and services that can build in the financial services space, even at a micro level, okay, is possible of India stack. And again, Leslie talked about the data protection bill. There in last year March, Tamil Nadu came up with Tamil Nadu's data policy, right? The state of Tamil Nadu. It is one of the most progressive data policies that I have seen anywhere in the world. I mean, the data policy talks about establishing data fiduciary, chief data officers for government agents. Okay, so our government led by MeitY and the Ayog is also at a lot of progressive steps. Okay, so India that way is extremely well placed, and I agree with Leslie that we'll be working a lot on the application space, not so much on the core technology or the foundational technology area, because of two reasons. One of the reasons that Leslie already mentioned, which we don't have supporting enabler driver technologies like semiconductor fabs and huge data farms that are required and all of that. And second, and this I'd like to actually is my view on Sam Altman's answer, is we don't need to. Honestly, we don't need to, because one, on the service layer, on the application layer, if innovate, there's already a whole lot of innovation headroom that is available for us and that can do, which we can absorb in this market itself. And I guess the returns on that kind of innovation is much more interesting and profitable and makes sense for country like India, okay, than anything else. And you ask products or services, and I would say both. Okay, both, because Indian products, I'm based out of Bangalore. I work very close to startups from here, been working for the last years, both on the investment ecosystem and the entrepreneurial, right? Indian products are now being implemented globally, especially the enterprise SaaS products. So products and services definitely, because guess what? India has become a services-led economy. Okay,
Correct.
Out of the 28 states, 23 states, the leading industry is service. In 3, it's agriculture. In 2, it's manufacturing. That's all. So India itself is, as a market, is being led, becoming a services-led economy. Okay, which is exactly what the West is. The white world or the developed world, 75% services-led, right? So it only makes sense that AI development, implementation, innovation is also service-led and also AI service, and they will be absorbed for the India market and global. Yes, but to your question, I would say both products and services.
Yeah, and
Great.
I would, Kapil, I would just like to add something on, that because you referred to Modi and, of course, Ashwini Vaishnav, who spoke about the India GPT point.
Correct.
Now, can we really have an India GPT? Of course, when you look at it at face value, you will always, there are people will raise objections saying that we do not have the computing power, we do not have. But what we also conveniently forget is that we have the very rich data set.
Correct.
The kind of data sets that nobody in the world has it. And these are the
Correct.
kind of data sets that we provide, and we can always have a fewer parameter kind of GPT. It doesn't have to be 1 trillion parameters or 175 billion parameters. Nowadays, Llama and all are getting anywhere from 7 billion parameters to 70 billion, 70 billion parameters. So all these things are possible with fewer parameters. Also, a lot of AI and ML is being used in ISRO makes a lot of low cost sat. Imagine the amount of how can you really send a rocket to space today and understand all the data, the patterns in the data without using AI and ML. So obviously a lot is being
Our
done.
Chandrayaan 3, the world famous Chandrayaan 3 is going to land with AI now.
Exactly, it
on
has
the
to
moon.
be. In fact,
If it is
I
successful,
wrote about it. Yeah.
They learned something from the previous failure. They increased the parameters. The different systems were now tweaked, and there is higher chance of success of its landing on the South Pole.
Yeah, we are all hoping for that.
I have a anecdotal question here. You see, AI or whatever in its form in infancy started with the vision that system should be able to do what a human brain does. Now, I was on a dinner table with the head of Lilly Neuroscience on a drug discovery project, and he's a ex-Harvard professor in neuroscience. And he remarked during that dinner meeting is that the life sciences and humans have yet to discover 95% of human brain function, and that was in 2008. So when we talk about the headroom and where AI or where this whole progress will go across with generative AI in life sciences and the acceleration or understanding of human brain, I think we would be able to create a human brain mimicking AI perfectly, maybe by what, 10 years, 20 years? And where do you think who will win that race?
You want me to take it? Or you
Today,
want
it is, as I understand, maybe 95% of human brain
Leslie, I
was
know your
undiscovered by
answer, so
science in 2008. Maybe with generative AI and all this, it may be 50%. We still have 50% headroom of what a human brain is doing, and that is not yet machine learned.
Let me give you an anecdotal way of looking at it. You see, I was in my previous life, which even ChatGPT won't know. I was a Jesuit. A Jesuit means I was studying to be a priest, and
Correct.
very few people know that. So now, at that point in time, somebody asked, "Why did you?" So I became an agnostic, and then of course, I'm an atheist, then an agnostic, and I just got out of the entire system. So people typically ask, like, "Okay, why did you move out?" So I said, because I'm interested more in life before that rather than life after that. Because those carrots in the sky don't make too much sense for me at this point in time. Very similar, the question is, whenever this question is posed as to whether AI will become sentient, whether it will mimic the human brain, honestly, for me, this is a distraction more than anything else. One is because people have a very poor understanding of how the brain functions. I think the neuroscientists really nailed it when the person said that 86 billion neurons, 80 billion neurons, you can catch any figure. I think anything after a billion, to wrap a head around it is like near to impossible.
Correct.
And then, the 100 trillions of synapses, the kind of connection that we have out there, not to talk about the glions, the dendrites, and blah, blah. How sophisticated the brain. And basically, I don't think machines are really trying to emulate the brain. Artificial neural networks are, even if they want, currently what happened, they're trying to connect them to the human brain. That's a different issue. But if you look at ANNs, then they don't function the way the brain functions. This is an input-output layer with deep layers, thousands of layers, or whatever, however many layers you want to put over there, then trying to match everything. Look at the computing power that you require. Even the brain requires computing power, but the brain is already connecting so many things. Like, for instance, I'm we are participating in this video call. I don't need LiDAR here to zoom in directly onto you. I'm doing that autofocus immediately. I don't need AI to do it. I'm talking, I'm thinking about something, I'm framing a question, I'm also trying to respond to somebody else. Then suddenly there could be some distraction where maybe Jayanth would interrupt, or you would interrupt, or you would say, "No, what do you think about it?" I still have to respond to that. I wonder what AI machine can do that at this point in time, or at any given point in time. One is because machines think very linearly. They want to get their job done. That is the strength of a machine, that it doesn't get distracted. It doesn't suffer from ADHD that we suffer. So the reason it accomplishes a task with so much precision is because it's allowed to focus on just a simple task. It is task oriented. It does the task, gets out of the way. Imagine it starts functioning like us, like our human brain. It will be as confused as us, which is exactly what Marvin Minsky said 60 years back, that I am not afraid of sentient machine, because if they mimic the human brain, they'll be as confused and as foolhardy as we are. So I don't know. I'm not too sure whether we would want to make it like the human brain. Yes, would we like to connect it to the human brain and work different kinds of things to make life easy? Yeah, definitely. We're doing that with robots. Look at Sophia. I mean, Sophia is now currently a low-end robot. There are many more sophisticated robots, despite it, or what do we call a robot? It?
No, he, she, it, whatever now.
Yeah, hey, whatever
No, Sophia has also
nomenclature.
attended the Pride event now, I guess.
Yeah. I mean, about 8 to 10 robots have started pontificating on how the world should be done. So obviously they're being fed with humans only. So you can make out the human kind of confusion that ranks among us, because we are not sure about things. If we start telling machines to mimic the human brain, they'll be equally confused. So I think that's a good spot to be in if you're afraid of AI.
So let's not bother about the headroom for development of AI at this point in time then.
Yeah, I think it's a distraction more than anything else, because then you'll start wondering whether AI. Then you'll have those discussions around killer robots. Then you'll have a discussion around Terminator. Then you'll have a discussion around Skynet. And we'll forget that the amount of good that AI is being doing in enterprises. Look at you and me. We are still talking, and it's already doing the autofocus. It's adjusting the brightness. We are looking at our smartphones. The smartphones are full of AI. We go today. Look at banking has become so simple. You get an alert if somebody is trying to make a phishing attack or something else. You get an alert immediately. Moment you get out of a thing, the bank will alert you. Sir, are you out of the country? You have suddenly make a purchase. Life has been, we are always looking at the negative, because we always, as I say, try to seek a fly in the ointment. Are we trying to, also look at the kind of good that made the life of a radiologist so much more simpler? It is helping in drug discovery. What used to take hundreds of years probably now will will be done in probably days. So the benefit to mankind is equally, I think it will balance it out. Now, will the good part of it outweigh the risk? It depends on who you're asking the question. If you're asking Tristan Hare of the Center for, is it the Human Democracy? I forget the name of that institute. But Tristan Hare, for instance, the guys who have done the AI dilemma, clearly they have also pointed it out to the negatives of it. I'm not saying, but can we throw the baby with the bathwater is a big question mark.
So you talked about Sophia and David Hansen, the developer,
Hansen Robotics.
Hansen Robotics. He was here and I had a long chat, and then he was looking for investment, and David Chen, his CFO, also had a long conference call with us to see if this is an investable proposition. And we were looking at medical applications because that's where we invest. And what happened was that right from nursing and observation itself said it's too far away. The robot was still in that conversational phase of doing things. It did not have the clinical pathways and ability to decide and trigger alarms and stuff like that. So even robotics to an extent have their own limited focus, whatsoever you may say. And obviously we know that robots are being used for self-defense and other purposes. But I wanted to discuss how would robots and AI really integrate in future? Would, like what we are now having chatbot, will that happen as a AI bot, or what's the terminology you're going to give in future?
AI is going to the brains of the robots, right? Other than, without AI, robots are, just hands and legs and limbs and machines, right? And physical machines. So, and it's already happening. Most of the robots in right now are being powered by AI, and AI have the brain to whatever extent AI is being developed. Your earlier point, I agree with Leslie that talking about sentient AI is really a distraction because we humans still don't know enough of ourselves. Okay.
Correct.
And intelligence is just one of our factors. Our physical limb movement was one which got automated by industrial era. Then intelligence, and we hardly know. I have to agree with your Harvard there that hard for it. But then there's that much more that makes us human, right? There are emotions, there's gut instinct, we don't even know where that comes from. Okay. And when we don't know, how are we going to create or develop machine to do that? But if you have to just replicate replicate human, we are anyway doing that, right? We reproduce. There are 8 billion of us. To Leslie's point and to Marvin's point. Okay. What good is making a machine as good as a human if it's going to be as confused and foolhardy as us? Okay. And we are anyway, creating more humans. So why do that with machine again?
And you're trying to get rid of the biases. You're trying to get rid of so many other things. Really, do you want another species that is?
It's like Star Wars, some sci-fi, Matrix or something like that. Hey, having discussed where the progress and the headroom and opportunity for AI and maybe for India, I want to focus back on India and issues around India and AI development. Leslie also pointed out, I've been on the board of Institute of Ayurveda Integrative Medicine. Now, people, they collect ancient scriptures, languages on parchment and stuff like that, which have been found in people's basement and homes, wrapped around, partially destroyed. And they try to decipher that first into Sanskrit and then, translate with the different researchers into different languages in India. Now, what I felt was traditional sciences itself is such a huge body of expertise in India, which we have lost somewhere in our struggle for independence in the British era itself. And second, as an ancient civilization, there were a lot of good things and a lot of bad things also that has happened, which we seem to have lost out. And then there are different dialects and languages. This itself, what I feel could be a big headroom for development of our native artificial intelligence and what we can build as a market on.
But that's exactly what I said. Rajiv Chandrasekhar had spoken about the kind of data set that we have. This is exactly what he was referring to. We generally tend to forget the kind of richness that we have out there. Because much of the conversation about ancient traditions and all get lost with, those hyperboles about Vamana and,
the mythology
the mythology, mixing of mythologies, which, confuse science with a lot of other kind of things. I think instead of focusing on that, rather focus on the kind of amazing wealth of knowledge that we have in Vedas. Look at the Rig Veda, the Sam Veda, the Yajur Veda, Atharva Veda and all these things. And the other texts that we have. I'm so proud of this kind of heritage that we have. I'm sure a lot can be done by studying and, making things, because AI and Indian languages, as you rightly said, we have just 22 official languages, but there are hundred thousands of dialects that we have out there. Every 5 kilometers, the dialect keeps on changing. So it is like hard for any human being to seek patterns out of that, which AI can do a fantastic job. And I think Jayanth would know a lot more on this because he works very closely with some of these Indian language companies.
The institute in Mysore, which I visited started, and we collaborated on genetic Indian genome with language itself, and we are at a very nascent stage also for being able to understand the evolution of different genetic species. Mind you, Indian gene is almost 80% coverage of the worldwide genome itself. So that by itself is a big area of opportunity for India to understand and export for the world to leverage on. Do you agree with that, or do you disagree with this? I'm just opening issues
First
in
of
terms
all,
of India as a hub for AI.
No, I think we are trying to generalize a lot of things here. Okay, let's first understand that India is extremely unique. Okay, every few hundred kilometers in this country, you have a different language, different culture, different food. Okay,
correct,
and people behaving different, and people leading their daily lives on it. The thing is, we are and India has its own economy. Okay, and that is something that we've captured in our book as well. In fact, one of the things that we captured in our book is most of the global digital technology company came and wanted to set up shop in India because India contributes 18% world population, a big headroom for them to grow, and they all fell flat on their face the first time of their end. Everyone, take Motorola. I was next Motorola. We know the story. Motorola, Microsoft, Google, Facebook, Amazon, Apple, everyone. Then they go back with burnt fingers. They give India a miss for a few years. Then next time they come with a very specific India strat. Okay, and India that way demands that not just the way the economy. Okay, now if you want to take the entire AI development and also have a blanket strat for here, it won't work. I mean, even from a consumption economy point of view, we might be 1.4 billion population, but not all of us are there are a lot of different priorities that come, and even the people who can afford it are not discretionary spending it, because you have to understand the history and the culture that they're coming with, and thereby even the AI development for India should make sense for the different pockets classes of the population here, and the business. Number one, the innovation, the productize, the services, and the biz model and the go to market has to be customized for those pockets, and then it makes sense. So that way the AI development for India will be very India specific, and we've seen one or two examples of digital platforms that have evolved that way, and that could have been done only in the case of India Mind. I come back to India Stack and BI again. We didn't inherit that platform anywhere from West. Now in fact India Stack being deployed across the world, but it has been developed to solve their problems across 4 or 5 different dimensions that I just spoke about. And once we did that at scale, now we can take it to the world. And in the same way, opportunity exists in innovating that way across dimensions, in economy, in healthcare, education, not just in reaching out to the last mile, and making it sense for them, and thereby generating revenue out of it. Was it Prahlad Kakar's book, which was
bottom of the pyramid?
Bottom of the pyramid, right? The treasure in the bottom of the pyramid, right? I mean, getting back to that, I think that's a decade-old book, but it makes so much sense for India to, those things need to be understood, and AI development also need to be broken down, need to be done ground up, and then probably connected. The dots need to be connected, the connectivity tissue need to be developed, and then scaled pan India number one and beyond.
Let's focus on India. India had a great telecom mobile revolution, and in your book also you mentioned about mobile first to AI first. Now you've also given examples of various sectors where AI has been leading, and in some sectors it's been lagging as well as far as the world is concerned. If we were to kind of go as an AI first country, what are the sectors you will bet first who could be the lead for India to become an AI first country in the world?
BFSI by far.
Yeah.
Because it's like, I think we are very strong in the digital public infrastructure space.
Correct.
So BFSI by far, we have a very robust kind of banking system. Regulatory bodies are one of the most robust in the world. For the data analytics platform, wherever whichever sector uses data, for analytics is a logical conclusion. AI is another logic. So obviously, telecom sector, retail, hospitality, healthcare. These are like sort of, I would say, sitting ducks would be a wrong statement, but they lend
low-hanging
themselves
fruits.
low-hanging. They lend themselves so easily to AI. Even for that matter of fact, oil and gas and all that kind of
industrials.
Because we sometimes look at all these low-hanging fruit sectors and then forget that extremely in the industrial sectors have a lot of sensors. So look at the kind of data that they've, like oil and gas find. If I want to seek where do I dig, where do I have my next oil rig, or what do I do over there, they have been using it very routinely for all the kind of exploration activities, etc. So I don't know of any one sector that is even not there in there. I think that the question should be which sector can really say that I have not been using AI, unless it's something which is a very, very manual thing, which probably there's no return on investment in in the sector, or human labor is so cheap. That's another issue out here where you don't find any much sense in having AI where you can't scale it up and get it to the volumes game. Otherwise, I think most sectors in India lend themselves.
Yeah,
I have
let's.
a
Okay,
question to.
I'm the analyst and the strategy consultant, so let's give you my viewpoint. I clearly agree with Leslie. BFSI and especially payment by a discount. Clearly, the top industry. The next one is going to healthcare. For the last 2.5 years, I've been neck in healthcare. The first months I helped a company grow and get acquired by Babylon Health, biggest health tech world. Okay, and for the last 2 years, I've been heading strategy for global, one of the biggest $1 trillion technology company, tech giant, right? Their health AI one, and I've seen what can be done. Okay, and just like UPI, which was done at population scale, the healthcare meaning and the impact has also been attempted and has been done at population scale in one of the states of the country. Okay, and the reason why I say healthcare is a close second for AI innovation implementation in India is because the Western healthcare, the so-called structured healthcare
Delivery system.
market delivery systems are not conducive for AI innovation. Honest, because the
Correct.
EHRs that have been implemented in US and K, okay, have been done for the providers, okay, and the insurance. Here, it's actually done for the citizen who also happens to be the healthcare benefit and the guy who pays out of pocket. Okay, so that way the AI implementation and innovation, healthcare is second. And the third I would say would be retail, because again, what's happening with payments, that is going to have a cascading effect on retail and our consumption economy. So our retail and consumption economy, third, this which is going to have a lot of scope for AI innovation and implementation in India. And the fourth, I would say, I'll take only 4 industries, and there's quite a gap between each of them, mind. And the fourth would media and because again, we are one of
OTTs
the
and
biggest consumers, one of the biggest consumers of entertainment and media, okay, in the world. Okay, and there a lot of AI innovation in terms of hyper personalization, in terms of analytics and everything is going to happen there. And most important, India being a multilingual country, a lot of AI based dubbing, subtitling, the media conversion, okay, is going to happen there. So these are my four industries of choice.
I just wanted to beg with you on the healthcare point, because I invest a lot, I see a lot of startup and all. So there are a couple of things, and correct me if I am wrong in my assessment, because there's always in healthcare, any technology adoption, there is always risk of life.
We need to figure out the business model. In healthcare, it cannot happen unless until the big business model is figured,
Now,
and that's probably the biggest and the only barrier that we have.
AI depends on data, and any wrong data input and medical errors could lead to a lot of catastrophic, results. And in fact, even we could call it as, I don't want to be very harsh, but could lead to any fatal event, which is why, like in our mobile and previous IT phases, it was always BFSI or financial services, which is always the first innovator. And healthcare is always the sixth or the seventh or the last one to enter into the innovation curve. And I felt that we're still not able to, in fact, when we were doing the chatbot for triaging whether a person has COVID or not, we had a lot of problems on language itself, fever, and we were using the back end of the 23 languages of Azure on the cloud, and still there was a lot of interpretation issues for us to ensure that, we had to doubly check what he said or what he was typing, so that we couldn't let, even one person go on a false negative out, because that could be dangerous, right? So although, and then we have seen, Google Health failing, IBM Watson failing, and then they're pulling the plug, even Microsoft Health Vault failing, which was the core data repository, not just in India, but globally. And now DeepMind is trying to do something on healthcare, not yet successful, not yet proven. We need, like clinical trials, a lot of trial to be done before, and there are no regulations at this point in time. So I wanted to discuss also on the regulatory aspect of healthcare and other sectors on use of AI. But this is where I beg to differ, that healthcare would always be the last person in the door. And what we are also lagging is our failure of health UPI, which is not taken off. So
I think I think we need to make a differentiation out here when we're talking about healthcare, because I think both of you have raised very valid point. I mean, see, clearly a lot of machine learning and this thing has been used in AI. I mean, I think right from the prediction of the pandemic itself. I mean, we all remember the company called Blue Dot, which managed to alert a lot of its clients about the pandemic. Else, many of these alerts probably we would have not even known about. So clearly there's immense amount of benefit in the kind of stuff. So I think the segmentation ought to be made here when it directly affects the lives of people. So whether it's working at the back end, which is what Jayanth is referring to, most of the stuff that is there, where we are creating a lot of work for the back end part of it. Like the COVID platform is a classic example in India.
Correct.
I mean, there's a tremendous amount of work that has been done. Manipal hospitals and all have invested. I mean, yes, they have been using Watson, could have been the
that's now out.
thing. Yeah, let's not.
I've written a blog also on it.
Yeah, but they created what's next after that. Everybody is going with the X factor nowadays. But other than that, I'm saying where it impacts the lives of persons directly is where what we are talking about is keeping humans in the loop, which is a very, very important part of AI, and which every regulation today is pointing out, that keep humans in the loop. When talking about these unsupervised kind of thing, it's good as far as LLMs are concerned, but even there you require the kind of human supervision, the human moderation, even if the costs are high. It may increase the cost for the model, but at the same time it would probably complement where humans and machines work and collaborate together. That's an extremely important aspect of it. I mean, where it doesn't impact human life, where it doesn't impact things, where processes are established and become very mature, there perhaps you may not want that kind of bureaucracy or human bureaucracy interfering with it. But where these kind of sensitive matters are concerned, yes, definitely. And I think a lot of stuff is being happening. I think, Jayanth, in your policy also, the Tamil Nadu, I'm sure there's a lot of human intervention, a lot of human moderation that I don't think anybody can do it without human moderation. So I mean, I wouldn't throw the baby with the bath water and say that nothing is working. I would just say that yes, you require a lot of human intervention. Laws are pretty strong. The HIPAA law, for instance, very, very so are laws in India.
And even our paper architecture that we developed
in the health UPI,
the data empowerment and protection architecture is one of the most well thought out and progressive architectures when it comes to protecting the consumers or the individual or the citizen data, their right, their consent, but at the same time, making the data available for value creation in terms of innovation. That's one of the best architectures and the frameworks anywhere in the world, and this was developed by the same iceberg team which worked on the UPI, the India stack. So, and those are getting implemented, and Kapil, I'd urge you to look up Tamil Nadu's population health and see what they've done and where they've and then you can see that data screening, the data privacy and security and the content management policies, population scale in healthcare are put in place and how they're all work. So that's a very good example. So yeah, I guess that's that.
I want to just close this podcast on regulation because Jayanth and Leslie, both of you have been talking to a lot of our politicians and regulators, and now the election season will hit in, so a lot of fake news and a lot of content generation will come in and all these other fears of whatever this AI will do. So how do you see that? What would be a model AI framework or regulatory system? How do we address this fake news and content regulation and generation, the intellectual property, who owns it, protection and confidentiality issues? We also talked briefly about the biases, prejudices and ethics, and then accountability of artificial intelligence. How do we do back checking like we had to do from our algos in our hedge fund? That accountability that it is 88% coverage or accurate or whatever. Then publishers and people who are into the service provisioning of AI models, competition and then misuse of AI. All these are kind of in nascent stage. How is this really now going to be a very comprehensive? We talked about data protection and some of it is now getting addressed. Where do you think this will move and how do you think this whole thing will get regulated?
Leslie, this is your most passionate subject. Crisp answer.
Yeah, I mean, you have a fantastic, just that the book, when it was written and I think when it was updated and published, I think there is a little bit of a gap, and that's what I was just trying to fill in this podcast as well.
No, I think India has done a fantastic job on this particular thing. I know there are a lot of critics who may disagree with me, but I still feel, despite all the limitations that we have had, see, because you asked about 15, 16 questions in that single statement.
Those are just pointers.
Yeah, but even those pointers are like so deep. Like
we could have a podcast of its own.
Yeah, that many of those things don't translate into laws directly. Many of them get addressed, like the trademarks, they have specific laws. IP, they have specific laws, and all are covered under the sections of either the CRPC or the other well thought out IPC laws that we have in this country. But other than that, I think we clearly had the IT Act 2000, which was, then you had the rules 2011 after that. Then after that, now we are getting the Digital India Act. Now, the interesting part about the Digital India Act is, other than the Digital Protection Bill, the Data Digital Protection Bill that we have, the Digital India Act has got, it will sort of, the IT Act will be subsumed by that. That's the whole idea. But it does not have a separate legislation on AI. So AI is still going to be a kind of a gray area over here. And I think the government has a very good reason for so. My understanding, again, I'm saying I am reading between the lines of what the government has said, because there is not a single document that can say that this is what the government is saying or this is what nobody can say with surety. I am saying it. This is my personal take. This is not what Mint is saying. This is not what anybody. This is my personally, is that the government is the sense that I'm getting from whatever I'm reading is that the government does not want to put a clear law for AI at this point in time because it feels that it wants it to grow. It wants to explore the kind of applicant, doesn't want to become a hurdle out here. It doesn't want to sort of stifle the growth of AI by putting too many fences around it without even understanding where this animal is going. And I think that's a very sensible approach at this point in time because, simply curbing something just because you don't understand what the animal is all about, and you look at the kind of scary proposition that people are going, AI is getting sentient. Now, if you start listening to everybody under the sun, if you start listening to everybody under the sun, you're going to have a serious problem when it comes to policy making. Yes, certain people have a clear understanding. They're saying, okay, if you're coming, you should focus on jobs. You should focus on this. No, a government cannot do that. A government has to take a holistic view and has to address each and every segment. It has to look at enterprises. It has to look at individuals. It has to look at jobs. It has to look at everything. I think they're doing pretty decent job. Are they doing an excellent job? That's always, it's a work in progress. With the Digital India Act, there will be a lot of semblance on certain combined with Digital Data Protection Bill. And we have very, very strong laws in the country. Implementation has always been the, okay. I'm not getting into implementation part of it. We all know. Yeah.
So
but
it's
laws,
like,
I will not fall the country.
it's like what government did on crypto. Let it loose. And then when there were issues of misuse and then plug it with one bill and one taxation
Look at,
ideally that's how it's supposed to be anyway. When something is nascent and infant and it's growing in different dimensions and directions, you can't put guardrails not knowing, where.
It become restrictive.
No, exactly. You'll become and stifle the innovation. Okay. So, and that sense, Indian government and regulators and policymakers have been extremely this one. I mean, even in our economy, we have 2008 and the recent, recession as well. When India is able to, overcome all of this, is because our regulators have been very strong in terms of over-restricting the banks and some of those, right? So the same thinking, goes for other areas, including technology development.
Excellent, gentlemen.
No, I just said even online gaming, for that matter of fact, is another classic example.
I
mean, you can if you're on that side of the fence,
betting
you run
an online game. Yeah.
If you're running an online gaming company, you will complain that the government is harsh on you. If you're on the other side of the fence where you have become addicted to online gaming, you will compare it from the point of view of you'll complain from the point of view of mental health. Somebody somewhere has to draw and say,
and now
okay, fine.
Online gaming has also become India-Pakistan love affairs.
So it's always good.
It's really great. Any parting comment from your side? Where do you see this evolving, and what do you think would be your next book or collaboration together?
I think we already collaborate on a very close thing.
Multiple things.
We collaborate on multiple things. I as a journalist,
literally talk every day. We're collaborating on multiple projects.
Yeah, so we run that podcast called AI Rising. So we also I run this Tech Talk newsletter, which is current about all the movements in generative AI. Jayanth's own Convergence Catalyst advisory does a lot of stuff. So we are pretty current as far as these things. See, as far as the evolution is concerned, I just say let's have some patience. Let's wait and watch rather than getting distracted with the pie in the sky and the sentient part of it.
And the flavors of the season.
Let's enjoy it. We have and let's have some trust, that human beings are really intelligent. At least some of them, that they can,
and resilient.
Yeah, and resilient.
And they see ChatGPT aa jayega jaldi.
So you're asking ChatGPT. That's good.
By the way, I'm finally getting to see you face to face. I asked ChatGPT to get me an image of yours, and it couldn't find one.
Good.
Leslie obviously has a lot on the.
Okay.
So you could get multiple images of Leslie.
Jayanth is under the radar.
It's all blank.
Yeah, I'm the man
even
in the
on
shadows.
Amazon.
I'm the man in the shadows.
Even there's no photo of his on Amazon.
That he hasn't.
I tried uploading. I tried uploading. For some reason, Amazon didn't do that. It said it's uploaded, but anyway, I love being the man in the shadows. I love where it counts there.
No, I'm just emoting what ChatGPT is.
There's a lot of power in.
I'm just a reflection of ChatGPT in human.
Yeah, there's a lot of
human
power
avatar.
Great, gentlemen. You know how all the really powerful and rich guys actually make a lot of effort to be anonymous. So there's a power in anonymous.
Well, that part I have to give it to you. You're the rich guy.
Well, listeners, here are the soul brothers of AI who have written the book AI Rising. And on behalf of our team, our sponsors, and our audience and listeners, I really love to thank you both for making this a very interesting conversation and topic to talk about. Let me tell you, I read your book not once but twice to get some inner meaning. And what a lovely timing to get this podcast. One was this AI, then Sam Altman's comment when he was in Delhi, कि भैया Indians don't know anything. Modi ji going in White House and saying there is a India in AI. Right. And there's a lot coming out of your book. It was great. I'm sure we are going to have another sequel, maybe next year in a next season, to get an update about, what's the AI rising for the next year, like a stock market index, perhaps. Thank you so much for being a part of our podcast show.
Hopefully. Thanks for having us,
Really
Kapil.
enjoyed talking to you both.
Thanks for having me.
Bye-bye.
Thank you. Thanks for having us. Bye.
Bye-bye.